Good morning, welcome. I got my Husqvarna 125 BV blower here, and the issue I have with it is that it does not prime with the primer bulb. Don't know if you can see in there, probably not, it's a little dark. But I'm not pulling any fuel up, even though I've got 3/4 of a tank of fuel there. So let's take it apart and see what's going on. Alright, so I bought a parts kit on Amazon that includes just about everything I think it possibly could be. Go ahead and open it up and see what we have in here real quick. Alright, go ahead and take this cover off. And that'll give us access to our air filter. Set that out of the way. And then there's two nuts right here. So you can pull this assembly off the carburetor. And I think those are 8mm. Let me verify that real quick. So we'll remove those two nuts. Set them to the side. That's interesting. My primer bulb actually has fuel in it. The other day I couldn't get that to do that. Still not working very well. Alright. This primer bulb looks like it just snaps in to this housing here. I'll grab a pair of needle nose. Release that. Set that aside. See right there, they just snap in. Hopefully I didn't change your okay. Might take this handle apart, or this cover. It might just be the handle to disconnect the throttle trigger from the carburetor. It's like pull the carburetor out further. Go ahead and do that. I think, yeah, I'm gonna use a 5/32 Allen. Those are just screws, so don't go crazy on it. Just screws into the plastic, there's no nuts or anything. See, they're coarse thread, so they just bite into the plastic. Really don't need that impact to remove them. Looks like this is not just the assembly here. I'm going to take this whole cover off. Not a big deal. What do we have? Carburetor gasket falling out of there. And then it looks like I'm going to have to take these 4 screws for the recoil assembly out. The recoil assembly screws are different, so keep track of those. They look like they're probably going into a nutsert or something. They're actually even like a machine screw. Okay, and that frees this up. So recoil assembly and the side cover are off. Now I can get in here to disconnect the trigger. So over here. Now that carburetor should pull off of there as far as the fuel lines will let it go. So it is pulling some fuel. It looks like it's struggling to get it pulled up through the carburetor. So the way it appears to work to me is you have your fuel line coming up from your fuel tank to the carburetor, and then the primer bulb is actually pulling fuel through the carburetor and returning it back to the tank. So I guess that's why they call it a primer bulb. Primes the carburetor. But if you see all the air I'm getting there, pulling it through the carburetor, and the bulb isn't wanting to come back out, something is plugged. You get like that cavitation effect. Because the bulb itself feels fine. I wonder what happens if I just swap in that replacement carburetor that came in this kit. If I just go ahead and hook the fuel lines up to this and then try priming it, I wonder if it just works better already. I've had this carburetor apart and cleaned it before. It had some of that white scummy buildup. I guess it's from water, from the ethanol in the fuel. Just makes a little crusty deposit in there. And it ran really well after that. But I'm wondering if either gummed up again or if the diaphragm or gaskets inside are coming apart, plugging that up. Because it is struggling to get fuel up through that carburetor. Alright, and just for giggles here, I'm going to connect the existing fuel lines to the new carburetor and try priming it to see if it'll pull fuel through it. Okay, that seems to have fixed it. Imagine that. So really, a good carburetor cleaning, some gaskets and stuff, and this would be fine, ready to go. But if you look at it, it's having no issues at all pulling fuel up through there. I'm half tempted to stop here. Just go ahead and install this as is. I mean, I've got the other parts laying here. Ugh, what would you do at this point? Go ahead and replace these? If I need it, I got it. Let's go ahead and put it back together and see if it'll run now. Probably should replace those gaskets, but that's alright. We'll figure it out. Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and put this cover back on. Verify our trigger assembly works. When you take the side cover off, there's nothing left to retain. I guess this is the exhaust cover. Just hides the muffler from you, so you can't burn yourself on it. So you get that back in place. Just pushes in there. Then you can put your side cover back on. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and put the, set this down to the low settings, so it needs to be tight. It doesn't need to be tight. I'm gonna go ahead and put the recoil assembly back on. So get them all started before I snug them. This is the machine screw. Goes into the aluminum housing. Okay. And now we'll put back the coarse thread. You just start into the plastic. Okay. That primer bulb is full. So the issue I had is there's either a restriction, well, I think that's it. There's a restriction inside the carburetor not allowing fuel to pass through. So I can take that apart, see if I can find it, I guess. I don't remember what this parts kit costs. That came with the bulb and hose assembly and filter and all that. It's got a cheap spark plug in there. It's got carburetor gaskets, which I could have just used. I don't know why I didn't. That was silly. Comes with a new thumb screw for this cover here, and an air filter. 2 air filters, actually. This one's a little dirty, but it's not bad. It doesn't get that much run time. And I think that's a carburetor adjustment tool. Yeah, I think that's what that is for adjusting the carburetor. Hopefully it doesn't need too much adjustment, but we'll figure it out. Gonna put this cover back on. Snug that thumb screw down. I'll open the garage door and we'll see if it'll start. I'm gonna go full choke. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's the best that's the best that blower has ran in quite some time. Sounds like it could use a little bit of adjustment, but I'm not too worried about it. I mostly use it for blowing leaves out of the gutters and whatnot. Yeah. For those of you interested, here is that the part number and stuff for what I ordered off Amazon. That took care of my issue. And all I used was the carburetor out of it. Got some extras here if I need it in the future. Probably should have just replaced the whole assembly. But I'll be honest with you, the original bulb that's on that one feels softer than this one here. So I bet it's going to hold up longer than this one would. Be my assumption. But if it goes bad, I've got it. I'll replace it. Put these on the shelf for next time. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.